as far as I know, we don't have a description for the general pattern of a functional society that is ebbing and flowing has hit a tipping point, and that tipping point goes to this other type of behavior. And that other type of behavior ends in warfare, genocide, all of these things. And so that's what I'm hunting for, is I think we are now watching, and all of the people that we are in contact with are now grappling with how to describe what they are seeing. We are debating over stuff that literally, I mean, you know, we've been at, are we really arguing about whether males and females are different at a biological level? Like, how could a conversation ever get that dumb? It's inconceivable. We're now doing this with 2 + 2 = 5, right? Is it possible the conversation will ever get that dumb? Yeah, it actually apparently is that dumb.
I will say that my own failure of imagination cannot figure out what gets dumber than that one.
It's hard to get dumber
I'm
than
waiting.
That. But my point is, you have hit bottom. We have hit bottom on something. And that is the degree to which what we are arguing over has anything to do with an analysis of any kind. At the point you are arguing about 2 + 2 = 5, you are declaring that you no longer care about what is actual, right? It's pure solipsism. And so my point is, pure solipsism is the adult version of stars on your bellies.
So to those who would say, but the other side is fascism. Anything is better than that. It doesn't matter as much, maybe, that we say, you know what, I don't even think that's fascism. What matters more is actual intellectual solipsism is the end, full stop. Like that is where you lose all access to the gains from the last 300 years.
Right. So this is the point about autoimmunity, is that the people who are arguing against logic itself, right, and those who have signed up with them and are making excuses for them, are arguing against what we have in favor of something they claim we could have. Now, my point would be every single test of their intuition about what we could have descends into madness almost instantly. So we are listening to insane people who have a claim about a world better than this one, and we are no longer listening to people who say, this world has a hell of a lot going for it, and the only right thing to do is to fix the parts that didn't get there, to complete the project rather than destroy the project. We are in that argument. And we are losing ground to the people who want to destroy this world in the hope or in the expectation that something marvelous, as they see it, will arise in its place. I'm beginning to get frustrated with our circle, because our circle is seeing so much of this nonsense that it thinks its job is to catalog it. Have you seen this crazy example? Have you seen that crazy example? Look at what this person claimed. Oh my God, it's gotten even worse, right? And my point is,
that will work for some people who haven't yet seen it being presented with a list, a catalog.
I feel a little like invoking Yoda, and I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I am kind of a huge Yoda fan.
Go for it.
There is no try. There's do and don't do, right? My point is, our circle, being fascinated by all of the various examples, is missing the boat, because we're about to lose the thing that is feeding us, that will provide our descendants with a place to exist and experience freedom and all of these things. And the reason we are losing it is because, those who are good at analysis default to it when something comes in a form. We are purely being gaslit, right? The argument 2 + 2 = 5 is purely gaslighting. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who's saying it knows that, but I am saying that its function is to take all of the people who feel like, no, wait a minute, let me explain to you why 2 + 2 does not equal 5, and get them explaining it, because they're
busy over here not paying attention.
Right? We are not paying attention to the real thing, which is, holy shit, I think we just crossed that threshold that takes a functional entity and turns it into madness. And the other thing, if I can just put the last piece in the puzzle as I see it at the moment, I think we need to stop saying that Marxism doesn't work. I think there's a whole lot we can talk about here, because not work isn't really the problem. It's that when it works, it is completely unacceptable from the point of view of what actually makes sense to value as a human being. In other words, existing as a Homo sapiens is not the valuable thing, right? The valuable thing has to do with your ability to take the specialness that comes along with being a Homo sapiens and apply it to things that seem worthwhile. So, does North Korea work? It does. I don't want to live like that. In fact, I would gladly...
I mean, I think you're going to have to define work then.
Well, it persists.
Well, mass famine and mass deaths and such.
Yeah, but the point is the entity persists. And we could say the same thing about China. In fact,
the political entity persists.
And the population. Even though
some of it,
many individuals are lost along the way in perfectly grotesque circumstances, it does look like it's sticking around. And China is not just sticking around. China is actually thriving economically and with respect to its global power. And so the point is,
right, but China's also moved into more of a capitalist model.
Sure. But my point is, if you're going to make the argument that won't work, then China actually tells you, well, that's not quite right, because whatever it thought it was doing moved into something that made it quickly powerful and ascendant. I still don't want to live under that system. And so at some level, A, communism often does fail. B, when it succeeds, it never does so without totalitarianism in tow, for reasons that I think we've described here. That because it is group selection thinking to imagine that people will behave altruistically, the way that a communist system that functions works is by realigning people's incentives by threatening them. So, the gulags come along with functional communism. And the point is,
But just to put this in the language that we've often used elsewhere, communism assumes that external motivation is the thing that is needed to get people to do the right thing. And then the right thing is then is defined by the state. And the external motivator is almost entirely stick, no carrot.
People actually get the question of socialism wrong because their sense is, well, socialism is communism. Okay, and maybe there's an argument that really they're flavors of the same thing. And that therefore, anybody who has those inclinations is necessarily inviting gulags, which is not the case, because it can certainly be true. If you take my little trough model here, we can say that actually there are times when you don't have enough socialism to make your system work. You're coming too close to one of these maximization places. So you need more socialism. Does that mean you're a socialist? No.
You need to pool enough of the risks to guarantee that the people really at the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder don't fall off entirely.
Right. So what we really need is a system that leverages the great part of capitalism, which is markets being applied to problems that markets are good at solving, while hedging out the bad part.
That allow people to discover their internal motivations and act on it and benefit from doing so when it is in the service of the society.
Hell yeah. We want you to get paid handsomely when you deliver something that improves our lives a lot, right? We want that to be the incentive. And that's the mythology of capitalism.
And again, there are so many roots there. It could be discovery, which is typically what STEM people are doing, scientists and such. And it could be creation, which may be more often in the realm of art and literature and entertainment. It could be healing. It could be so many things. It could be production. It could be, organizing of those parts in order to create an emergent whole that is greater than the individual parts. There are many, many ways to actually add value.
Right.
But you need to discover on your own what your own individual talents and proclivities and passions are and learn how to. And, for this, we need a system that doesn't destroy children in school and doesn't drug them and doesn't feed them screens. It doesn't tell parents that they need to keep all risk from children, all of these things, such that by the time people in the bodies of children become people in the bodies of adults, they're actually adults, as opposed to still acting like unregulated, unable to be regulated 6-year-olds.